Okay, so the render is done, or preview render is done. So I'll just make some check how it looks in C4D. So I have this footage. I brought my pirate footage I just rendered. And if I will go to frame 30 when I'm starting, and I will make it align, I will Control Shift H, or sorry, uh, Control Alt F, then the things got aligned. But unfortunately, as you can see here, the problem is that there is a black in the background. We set the shadow catcher on those objects and those are fine. But this environment in the back, it's black for the reason that we added in C4D, we added the environment. When we have the environment there, again, this is the wrong files. Give me a second. Yeah, here. If I brought the environment, and I can even put it in the lights to make it more clear. And then in default, if you go all the way down, there is replace alpha. So this is kind of essential to be turned on, because by doing though, if there is replace alpha, it will basically create some small gradient with volumetric lights and it will just keep the black. So we don't want to use that. So I just untick it and then I re-render it. So let me just import new render. I didn't rename it properly, but it's okay. And I'll just bring it here, pirate, and then I'll just alt click, I will update it. So we have the new pirate. As you can see, it's still not really well aligned, but let's just see how it looks in the movement. So we will cache it out. There's the shadow we created. There is a little bit of edge still need to be worked on. This is going to be too dark when we're coming there. But then we have the cutting in, the lights affecting all different things. And then we have the robots coming in. So let's see it in the movement. It's going to be smooth now. Falling down, tripping, and then they're going to get him. So I think the beginning phase of the ship kind of floating around works fairly well. I mean, the tracking sits well. The animation of the gun and lasers, I think, working good. The cloth would need ideally more details or more subdivision. It definitely, you see the pieces kind of like, you just go through it like this. You can definitely see, okay, let me just point out on the mistakes. Like there you can see the shadow, for example, is not aligning well, so we need to extend it the ground. Then also when we jump in, you can see this is the original texture, this is what we want. And then if you click on it, like you can see it's just like really washed out. Like you need to have a look what happened with the textures, and even the framing, it doesn't really fit well. So I will try to fix this to be looking authentic and same. The shadow is too sharp. I mean, you can see the shadow of the cars. It is quite dark actually, but this is too dark considering how far it's from the wall. So we need to make it softer. This moment when the eye indicated his enemy or he should kill him, it's not prominent enough, so we need more emission, or maybe have the blue color in the beginning and then have turn on a strong light. This kind of works. I mean, we get a lot of noise here, so might be good to add there more light, which right now, considering the full day, I think it's too dark anyway, so we can just bring it a little more light here. Or choose different HDR, because yeah, those shadows are really harsh. Then if falling down, the cloth will need more details. It's like really like, I know we're going for kind of stylized simple 3D here, but it should have at least a little bit more detail. This is like too plain. And also a kind of thickness, like maybe just tiny thickness, just to have feel with volume here or heaviness. And then the robots coming in. Here's a few problems. Like one of them is that we have I didn't record long footage enough. So we kind of like just start reading what's going on and we cutting out. So that's a mistake on my part. But the another thing is they look like his friends. They look like they're kind of like all pals, the same color, pink, like nice colors, and they're just going to greet him. So we don't want that neither. So we would like to look, we need to make them seem they are different and they are threat. So maybe give them some weapons or even more dynamic walk, or and working towards him. Like right now he's kind of over here and he's intersecting with other things. Like we're looking from quite far. Like you need to realize that he's like falling all the way down. Maybe we can still make him fall quicker, but he kind of like tripping through the cloth. And I mean, it almost made me think if I should give him at least dynamic, he would kind of like push some things apart so they wouldn't look like so hidden underneath it. Because right now we just have it like from here to the end. It's like 1 second, but we are doing the camera move in the same time. And he's really kind of lost here. So we should somehow point him out and make him more visible. So let's jump in and let's do the last changes and probably hit the final render. The one important thing also to notice here, when we have this explosion or like start shooting, you can see that if I would had this like before, I have like this reduce alpha or replace alpha, you can see this glow and volumetric going across the entire image. If I did uncheck it, it removed me the background so I'm actually see everything in the far. But look at this, it's just cropped with geometry. I don't see the volumetric, it basically doesn't have any alpha channel. So that's things to be mindful, and actually want to have this volumetric across the other image to help us to blend in, because it's a big difference if you will have it like this and then the ship is just blown out and the rest of it is dark. So we need to just add more shadow catcher in the background. So we just extend the floor and make the walls here as well. Well, let's dive into C4D and do rest of the changes. We can actually start even with this. So let's come here, and then we want to be sure that when we have our ground on the floor, we might actually do the copy of this one and then just extend it really far. I'll just make it really wide as we can go. I can make it really long. So this will just make us the floor. I just need to connect it here. Oops. We just turn off the textures for now. So NQ, NQ, and then we can do the quick shading lines, and then we need to extend this wall. So let me just select it. It's our plane. I'll just make a copy to our planes. I'll just move it all the way here. Well, what I'm doing here, I mean, I could just, if I would just want to have the alpha channel there, I could just make one wall right behind the ship. But there's a reason why I'm doing it this way. And spoiler alert, I will use this later on for calculating the deep depth pass. So it's just a small trick. So we just kind of like roughly recreating the geometry behind, and then we can have this one. I'm not naming those ones. I mean, of course, you can name door and stuff like that, but it's just like really rough. Okay. This is intersecting, nice. We align it. We're kind of eyeballing it a lot, but that's how you save the time. Okay, so we got our main walls, and then maybe in this distance already it's so far, they can do a little bit more. Okay, now I have to adjust it. And in this distance is so far that after that distance, we will just create, and this is just, can remove all the tags here actually, don't need them. And this one as well. This is ground extend, and this one is, I need to rotate it. Okay, I think it's too close, or it's too big plane right now. But this one we will just push all the way in distance till we have other geometry supporting us. So yeah, around here. And this is just like kind of base, the end of it. So all those are the shadow catchers. So we won't have this like empty black space what we had before when we render it. And we can use this for calculating the depth channel. We don't need to see them though, so I'll just hide those. And I'll probably hide also the walls. And let's move forward. So we were kind of happy here with the pirate, with the ship. Then we got our cannoning. So let me jump back here. Display the scene. And oh, I hide this. All right. So let's just hide the walls. Okay. And then we have our robot. The change of the eye to the red was not so prominent, and also, yeah, that's actually the main thing. It wasn't really prominent. So what we want to do here, now it should be already red. So now it's time to start checking how it looks in the render. So I'll prepare our render view. I think by now I probably should have it docked or like have the setup for it. It's okay. Let me bring it here to our eye. And you can also like add some like light around this, which is not the bad idea. But let me come here to our robot, which is in the gun, as I was already there, main turret eye, and we are not rendering this one, that's fine. Okay, we need this texture. So this is the shader, which basically controlling our emission and the visibility of eye and everything. So let's come here overall. Let's just boost it, like see what we can get out of it. It's a bit brighter. It's fine, but it doesn't do big fuss. So I don't think it's strong enough. And also we don't even see it's actually made from small dots. Like we're using so many details and now it just looks like a circle, but it's maybe fine. Let me turn this off. I think just the G to resolution. Okay, I will go with a 3. And what I will do here, we are using the darken, but actually the darken was not the best way how to do this. So we can do instead, let me come here before we use this color transition. And probably instead of the darken, let's see if we can bring another color. This one is blue. It's not really what we are looking for. Dodge overlay. Exclusion is quite good. It looks kind of neutral. Okay, divide is great. Also, divide actually give us some of those like lights around. It's kind of shame that we don't get the same thing with the red light. The only thing is, I feel it's kind of too strong. So yeah, let's have the emission of this one red. and then it will just in one frame, it just do the calculations and go to red from the blue. And here, I wouldn't mind to even like a little bit help it. So we have this light. Let's just take one of those lights, bring it over here, over here. Then this is gonna be our eye red. The intensity jump from the previous frame where it was 0 to this frame where it is like 300 maybe. Okay, it's too strong. 50. That looks quite good. It just like give us some highlights over here. We can maybe even, we have already spread on. So I think that's kind of clearly communicates what's gonna happen next. You can maybe put it even slightly lower, but I think 50 is fine. So I'll just put the keyframe there. Then also when we're doing the change in environment, just don't forget, before we will forget, I'll go to environment and I will check this back on, replace alpha. So that's with the robot. Then what we are saying the next. Go to After Effects. Okay, we have the shadow here a little bit not aligned, so we can do that. We can change the intensity of the shadow. So when he's kind of opening, it's really, really dark. So it might make sense to add some angle on our HDR, or just some really, really soft light. So let me go here and into lights. You can just create one more light or a light. The problem here could be you want to affect the doors and the wall, but it's fine. I'll figure it out. So we have the new light. The new light. Let me turn this on for a second. The new light will just move. Maybe it's a bit diagonal by we going 3/4 from around here, way slower, smaller light, and it will be just slightly warmish light. I mean, for people with Octane, you probably can't do this. Now we are cheating with Redshift, so you might be just like skip this, but here just in the project, you may hit include, and we might include only the gun. So it will, everything inside of this box, which I'm not sure if the box is actually, this is probably part of the environment. So what I will have to do, I will have include the gun, and also an environment would include the box. But we don't want to include the doors. So now I'll go back over here and I will just make sure it's not showing me in the volume. So let's have a look. Okay, so now we have the light inside, but of course we got way too much light inside. So you can see we turn it off. It's too bright, of course. Can play with few things. Can also make it like more sharpen and like way less. Even way less than that. Or we can do it the way, let's see, we actually use the shape in the calculation. So in the project include, we can probably add the shape. It will drop some shadow, so it means we can have stronger light. Okay, so right, this is really dark. If I turn it on, we have a little bit more background, and we even see this kind of like light shadow here, triangle. Not like super fancy or anything like that, but it works. It gives us a little bit more details. So I think this light, again, like more lights in the scene, the heavier calculation it is, but I think this light gives us some details, make it really subtle. So it's just like don't be too dark, and then you have this kind of red light which is kind of popping up. So, and then if you don't go frame before 97, we have the blue light, which is still quite aggressive here. So I might still adjust it here. So I may even put it like 0. Yeah, even 0, you can still see the light is really strong. So this is gonna be just like neutral light, and we can probably even play with the color, make it a little bit darker. Maybe we don't want to make it like they are same gang. They are definitely different ones. So yeah, I just keep it blue, like it's trying to figure it out if it should shoot or not. It's kind of like clear, not clear. It's just kind of like really telling what's going on. Then, okay, what next? We have the shadow. We have the shadow in our environment. So the shadow is caused by the dome light. So over here, we might come and there is some cast shadow. We will increase the transparency, like all the shadow is gone basically. So we might just find like 0, we are saying it's too dark. So we can just go a little bit. I mean, everything will get brighter due to that, but it looks more natural. And actually, when we're adding more light, now all this thing looks kind of brighter as well. So we might add the light unnecessary. No, I still like it there. Okay, we'll still keep it there. Just gonna be a little bit brighter everything. But at least give us the effect, the chance to kind of put the contrast on everything in After Effects later on. So let's say that this is okay for now. Then we had like another problem with our doors. So while we are doing those changes, let's increment save them. And also I know I was doing small updates. I was changing name here for alpha, so I'll just reduce it. And then let's go in the beginning. And let's have a look on those textures we are putting on the doors. So we are using the door texture, which is using only the color channel. Maybe I will be a little bit clear that it's set up right. And first, I will just see how it looks before changes, because you're supposed to be a little bit darker. And also the position was a little bit jumping, right? Am I right? Let's go to After Effects. Let's come over here. I turn it off. Yes, both of them. And what is interesting, like even those details, they totally disappeared. This gives like kind of realistic vibe. And they just like totally decide to disappear. And I think I know we are mentioning that there should be set up the proper resolution, and maybe it's not. So, okay, when I'm already teaching you this, I should teach you properly. So let's fix that. So we have the texture, and we are projecting the texture. I will just make a frame here. Yeah, I'll put even button. So I put the keyframe here, and I'll just switch it to HD TV. and this is the door on the right. So this directly doesn't affect the thing. And I'm wondering if it's because we already camera mapping, camera, if you have to create new camera. Okay, let's just be slowly working on those. Also, in terms of the lightness, it's going to be beneficial to convert the materials into redshift. And those lights basically, or what's happening here, those textures, they are adding the light. So they are taking the light from the scene, so they are getting brighter than they were before. So, because they are adding to material, you can even skip the material and just go to output directly. Then we should have, if we have the same color space, which we might not, I might have to adjust the color space. Let's see. Oh, all right. If you're using those ones, just be careful. You are select one of those if they're overriding, so you just have to click outside. So my bad. So yes, now if I'm using the color space, the right one, and I'm just directly connecting, not going through the material, because the material will take all the colors and it will become brighter, but I will just plug it directly to output. It will keep the original color. It doesn't help me here with the texture because it's still a little bit stretched. So I'm thinking if I can possibly change it here. But what we could also do, screen, yeah, it doesn't even affect the mapping. So I think it's taking from the camera the mapping. Hmm. Okay. Okay, so it's small glitch in Cinema 4D. So the first thing what we were supposed to do was to connect the texture directly to the output. And then I was telling you that the scale is slightly off. The first thought I had was just to come here and switch it to HDTV to 16 by 9. But it doesn't do nothing. And I don't know if it's because of the redshift or what. But if I will delete the material or the object, put it back just the Control C, it actually changed the resolution and it fits right. So I don't know what mistake it is. It's some weird update issue. So let me try to do the same thing over here. So we will switch it to HDTV. Then I'll go to color. And then in the here, I'll basically connect this object directly into output. And then we'll just do the same trick. We'll delete it and we put it back. Okay, I don't think this time it worked. And that's maybe because we're actually using another material. Huh. We're using this one. So let's do the same, sorry. So I just go to, and we actually can use both of those. Yeah, we could maybe do on both of those. You can see the small indicator, this rectangle. It means the original cinema for the material, and we want to bring it and convert it to redshift. So it disappeared. So here we don't want any diffuse channel. We'll just connect it directly. That will, look and see what everything disappeared. The problem is that we lose the shadow as well. And we don't want that. So the one of the things work around could be, we don't want to lose the shadow, but we want to accept light. We can also just come here and do the redshift tag and visibility, override, and don't have the primer visibility. Oh, sorry. Let's don't have the no, we don't want to see, we want to accept the light. Yeah, we want to receive the shadows. It's interesting, it immediately disappears. I just don't want to light coming in. So I thought you can just turn off it to not getting the light, but probably we have to do it different way. So if it's not possible to do it this way, I'll just switch the override. I'll just go to exclusion, and I just don't want to get the light from here. The dome light, this light, or again, we can actually do it, okay. I should rewind a little bit here. Okay. Skip this solution. We're gonna do here, the main light we're getting on this object, basically all the light is from the dome light. So we can go to project and we can just exclude this door, and we want to still receive the shadows. So I can now connect it directly to the output. All right, so in terms of the projection of the texture on the door, I was getting some mixed results. Sometimes it was working and sometimes not. So I decided to don't use this method. Just delete the camera. I just want to show you it can work, but also it, for some reason, Cinema 4D was not persistent with the projection. So I decided to, okay, let's use the method I was using before. I'm not sure which one is the better, but in my case, it was working better to bake the texture. So I will use the texture again. I'm using the normal texture, which is being projected with our camera, with our soft camera. Make sure we are using the 16:9. And now if I will turn on the projection, let's see the render, sorry. So now when I hit the projection, you can see this door is a little bit more highlighted, but otherwise the textures seems working well. I'm only using the color, I'm not using anything else. The material is right now catching the light, that's why the brighter than it should, which is fine. And then over here, we will just go to material, make sure that we have projection set from the camera. And then also I will go to bake material. In the baking material, I want to bake the color which we are using for this door. Then we will export PNG file. I will just do right color. We can do number 2. Then we'll set up 1K resolution, 16-bit. Everything else seems fine. UV back details. This should be fine. And now I'll just bake the texture. Here you can see it's different frame. We trying to bake the door only. We don't want to bake the street. So let's have a look what could be the problem. It could be we are using the wrong frame. So we are baking on frame 70. So let's make sure we are using this option. Now let's do bake again. And here you can see that now we are getting the proper texture we are supposed to get. What we will do next, it will automatically update our UVs. Then we can just use the same material what we are using for the door. So this is our door material left. We use already on the left door. Now I'll just make the copy of those doors. I'll just do right side. I'll come over here. I'll switch the texture, go to our textures. This is our new door panel. Yes, this one, everything's staying the same. And now I'll just bring the door texture on the second door. The textures looks it's aligning well, but the key point where we want to see if it works when the doors start opening. So I'm gonna go on later frame 80 or 82, and as you can see, the doors being open, the texture staying the same, and we won't get this weird result we was getting before. So in my case, I ended up working better to bake the texture. The only thing, if I would want to fix something, it looks that there's small, we can see double edge. So we could probably make it a little bit wider and move it to the side, maybe 1%. Okay, so now the door is looking good. And when we open the door, everything is pretty well aligned. We are Canon ready to shoot. So that's it. We are ready to go. And now I'll just render the preview. We might render the entire thing. Full HD resolution. And that's about it. We are using our passes, render folder. And we might think if we want to add some additional path, but I think we are our shape. We have one thing I was kind of struggling, or not struggling, I felt it could work better, was when we render the shape, the parts on the wall looks kind of funky. So what am I gonna do here? I will just give us the option to change it in comp as well. So I'll go to AOVs, and then over here, I'll just put the puzzle mat. This puzzle mat is gonna be called shape. And it's our object ID number 2. All right, that's all we need to do. And now hit render. All right, so this is our latest render we did, and let's have a look what works, what doesn't work, and let's just set it up one more time for the final render. So we are using the robots, we have the flying ship, we have the AI case here, we have the laser, but let's have a look what doesn't work, what works weird. So first of all, there's some stuff here in the background. If you will hide the 3D render we have and bringing it back, you can see it's affecting the shadow catcher, because it's actually catching the shadow even on this part, which we more want to use it as a matte object. We actually don't want to bring any shadow, so we will adjust this one. We don't want to catch any shadow. Easy fix. Then there's a small things like this, like aligning the edge of the wall. It's kind of like, again, easy fix. You just need to move it a little bit in the front. The AI here, I don't like the font, or I don't like how I type it. I'll just delete it. Just testing it out. It's maybe not necessary. We got the pirate here. He's not so visible. That's kind of okay. Maybe you can add more light just for him, so he's gonna be not so hard to see. or maybe even change the color of him, like maybe more cartoonish, like more prominent, because it's not a big problem here, but when he fall down, as is happen everything quite quickly, it gets a little bit messy here. So in this frame, you have a lot of debris, which taking your attention. Then there is like something's happening, and then there is a hero which is kind of lost in a lot of things. So what we can do here, I mean, of course, if we it's everything kind of darker than it should be and contrasty. I mean, we can like increase the lightness and contrast, and it's kind of more blend with the background. But still, the hero element, the hero guy, and those robots, it's a little bit kind of like confusing here. It's just a lot of mesh here. So what I decided to do, we might to add some kind of like contrasty points on the robots to give them a little bit more um, lights or definition of what's going on, what their movement, and also connect with the laser. I mean, if I would add them some kind of like laser heads or light heads, it might connect with this laser. So I thought it might be actually interesting way how to unify them and kind of like feel okay, they are the same thing, or they are kind of like belonging to each other. Something on the head, just give them some small lights to give them more readability and yeah, in connection with the laser gun. The mirror hero guy, that's a little bit problematic, because he fall in a lot of debris, and you don't want to change too much the direction of the debris because it's falling down. So what I will probably do is I might give him like some high contrast color so he'll be more visible. We don't want to overblow him with the light, but what we could do, we can give him the collision deformer. So when he's falling down and falling on the objects, on the cloth and debris, it will actually push those objects. It will be slower for calculation, but it might worth it on the details. He won't be lost in it. Um, and then when we're ending on the last frame, maybe just to intensifying these robots closing the circle, I might have, I don't know, one more robot here just to kind of like see the directions being enhanced. Last not least, there's just some texture sliding. That's usually those are easy fixes. It just means like the projection camera is wrong or something like that. So I will just fix that pretty quickly. And that's about it. So let's just dive into Cinema 4D and let's do those things like fairly straight on. So first we have this like shadow catcher, which doesn't work as it should. We see that otherwise it works quite well, but even here on our doorsteps, it's actually like getting some kind of like weird shadow layer we don't want to. So we'll go in the first frame. We are catching some shadow on this wall on the door, so we might keep shadow catcher there. But other than that, all those planes, we might just use shadow catcher with no shadow. So let me go to Cinema 4D. Let's just open this a little bit more. And then I will just come on our ground. Where we have our ground, like we have this one in the background, for example. Is the one we are actually using? I guess it is. Okay. Yeah, okay, so this is this one. So let's call it shadow catcher. And then we will have one more, which is gonna call, we can call it maybe no shadow catcher. I'll just open this one, go over here, illumination, and then just we turn off the cat shadows. In that case, it basically works as a matte object. And we were saying that if I will turn on the walls and everything, we don't want to have this one on the back. So let me just break it here. I can even delete that on the ground. This is gonna be not the ground actually, it's far distance, whatever name it is. Then we have those doorsteps which we have on the walls. So let me just bring them here on each those steps because it was causing there some issues as well. So we'll just don't want any shadows on those doorsteps, and probably we don't want any shadows on this long wall because there's gonna be no we won't be able to see basically anything there anyway, because there's no object to cast the shadows. So I can just turn off the shadow catcher there. So that's it. That's just kind of like a quick fix. Just need to keep organized a little bit, but yeah, it's just you see if you are using the shadow catcher or no shadow catcher. It should not be so complicated. Let me just turn it off to hide it again. Just want to make it a little bit cleaner. Okay, there's one fix. Then what we are saying the next. Then we have the texture issue. So let's go on frame at 70. This is where we were projecting our texture on the wall. I don't think it's particularly important, the frame, but here you can see that we have our textures on the door, right? The texture we are using is on 70 frame, but the problem is we are using the soft camera. So it means no matter how door is open, it will be always projecting on the door from front. We want to use this camera, which is animated because it's underneath the door. So when the doors open, the camera opens. So it will be always projecting from the right angle. So that's another fix. As you can see, those fixes are quite easy and quick. Then we don't like the AI sign. I'll just hide it here. This is just AI sign. I mean, you could play with it. You could put some like textures there, make it some cool graphics in Photoshop. This is what will show you how it could work, but I choose not to use it in my final. But that's how it would work in theory. Then we have this plain object over here where we are just trying to move it tiny bit because the shadow was not where we wanted. So I just move it tiny bit. I mean, those things you can usually fix in the comp. You might maybe have the shadow longer, then you can mask it out. I mean, usually those kind of things like detailing and fixing the shadows, that's what comp people doing. But I'm trying to do as much as I can in 3D. Then another thing, if I play this real time now, just open the door, get the laser, and just shoot. I think that everything fell like the ship fell quite quickly. Really quickly actually fell down. And I would like to put it lower. The only thing I'm worried because I'm using the gravity, I'm using the opening the doors with the object. If I will lower the gravity a lot, it might change the animation how my doors are opening. So it might be worth it either cache them out or bake them or just don't change this gravity. But I'm kind of curious to see it a little lower. So what we're gonna do, I will go and select my doors. This is the moment when things might get a little bit complicated because you start adjusting more things at once. So when we have our doors, door left and door right, I will again, just to make it everything faster, I'll just turn off the ship. The gun I will keep there. I will just select our doors and do cache, and I'll just bake those objects. So now the door animation is baked. And now if I will hit Control D and I will go to Dynamics and try to lower the gravity for like 650, like we almost double down it, but now when the ship's gonna be being hit, I don't think we use any more gravity, or maybe for the cloth, but okay, I'll just 700, okay. So now basically when the ship will be hit, the pieces will fall down slower. And then we have the gravity also for the main cloth. And I believe in Cinema 4D, the cloth dynamics of the gravity is set up separately as we are doing. So it should not be affected by the main gravity. So let's just see. I mean, now it's like we're playing like 4 frames per second. So it really doesn't give us enough information how it's going to work in the real fast movement, but just kind of help you to see there's some like big issue with it. Like everything should just fall a little bit slower. As you can see, it's still fairly fast. And also when the thing's falling on the ground, what we could play with, it actually gives us more spread out the distances, which is quite good because then we won't have so much mess there. But we could even like add more freakness, friction, so the pieces will stay more on the front. And when the pirate fall down, what we would probably do, we could add him the collision on the cloth. So let's do it. You know what? This will take a little bit longer, but I think it's worth it. So I will go to ship. Let me find our pirate. So we get the pirate here. I'm actually already using the collider object on him, and I will use the same thing for the cloth collider. This will definitely cause some increment, like this will definitely lower the speed. We could maybe even like make some reduced version because this is unnecessary to high poly. We just need a way lower poly count. Let me see if I will try to do reduced. If I can do it this way, but let me try it. Doesn't look like he's getting reduced. Let me just zoom in. Does this work? Oh, it actually does work. Okay. So I will do like 95. So it'll be really low res. 7. We have really low res version. Okay, 95. And then this reduced version, we won't be rendering it. I don't want to see it. But I can go to simulation and I will give him the cloth collider. And also I can bring him this like dynamic. So it will be colliding with everything and I can delete it here. So now we will be rendering this one. The other one won't be visible, but it should be like calculating all the collisions. Then if I will select our cloth surface, which is not really high res at the moment, I'm thinking to increase it, but let's just keep it. So we can go to cloth and we can cache this cloth as well. So you come over here. Again, if you would want to put more details, you would probably try to make like different type of geometry shape, not so regular or uniform, more polygons, but we already now like running a little bit slower than we should, so I will just keep it as it is. And now we have the collisions. I'll just calculate the cache. And meanwhile, it's calculating. I will just, and this might be a little bit slower, as you can see. Because I was kind of avoiding it to kind of keep things fast. But if you do it once and then everything's faster, then it's no big deal. I mean, still consider like if you work in Houdini or doing some crazy simulation, this is still pretty fast. We're basically getting percent per like 2 seconds. That's still pretty good. Let me see what next, what we can improve. So we have this opening robot, lock and load, switching the light. It's a little bit dark here. And in general, you look on the scene, like if you look on any real shadows, I mean, those when next to bricks, they are really dark, but otherwise we don't get any major drop shadows here. It's kind of like softer. But then here on the boat, you have really high contrast, you have dark shadows, but that's usually a matter of comping. You definitely need to play a little bit with, reduce the contrast, maybe play with saturation. But also, it's kind of dark inside the box. And here you can see like really dark, sharp shadows. So what we can do, we can either keep reducing the amount of the shadows which we are dropping, or we can add one more light. to kind of mimic the bounce light, or maybe just ambient light, just really lower, increase it. So that's probably what I will do. Then this thing will be improved. Also, the guy we were saying, we want to try to add him to give some more contrast color. So let me just go to Photoshop. This is the texture we are using, and maybe let's just select his coat. So all this like bluish cloth. Again, I'm just showing you the quick, rough ways how to deal with problems. But then if you work in the pipeline, you might need to spend a bit more time on those things. Okay, so we just selected the blue. I'm just using this quick selection tool. Then we can add the hue saturation, just make it more saturated. And maybe we are using our magenta throughout the scene, or a lot of pirates, maybe they're getting red. So and just like this with control click, I will click on this. So then I will have the selection again. And then I bring the levels, can maybe make it a little bit brighter. So this on its own will give us more readability of the pirate. So let me just save it. It's gonna be a funky pirate. JPEG, okay, over here. So you can just rename it to whatever you want. Magenta. Again, of course, it's up to you what you choose. It actually might go well with this color we are using already before. This cloth is kind of low res, but we are talking about it. I can just increase the amount of the subdivisions and make it like smoother. And then we said we want to play with the robots. Add like one more robot and I give them some funky lights. This thing spinning, it works quite well. You see how it works in terms of the speed. It's falling down. Actually, in the beginning, it's not spinning, and then it starts spinning. So I might add this one. Okay. This is kind of like telling there is a danger, you know. This is now we are communicating. Like we're communicating there are robots, but those robots doesn't look friendly. If they were just working like this, they could be looking semi-friendly. So I like this disk here. So I might add one more here just to kind of help us to read. There's more of them, and one of those robots, just to kind of have more robots coming to him. And then give them some lights. Then he will be more prominent, he'll be more colorful, he will be reacting with the cloth. And I think that's it. Like we don't want to kill too much time on this. Again, like you might not even use the robots, you might be using totally different characters. Now it doesn't move in the beginning, so we are on the frame like 157. Come over here. Meanwhile, it seems we got our animation done. So let me see how it looks. It definitely seems it's quite slow. But there's a few things we want to see. We want to see this guy, how it works. 157, I was saying this doesn't spin when it should. So yes, it's not spinning over here. So I'll just move it a little bit sooner. And then I will have a look what's happening with our main pirate, because it seems it's already on the ground, but the cloth are still falling. So oh dear. Okay, so there is we got some issue with the pirate being disconnected after we adjusted this animation. So this might not be the best way. I wonder why it's not animated anymore, because we have the animation here, turn on. Let's delete this. Okay, so now it works. If I have two of them, it seems it doesn't work. Is it because of the polar reduction or is it because of we can't have two skin objects on the same thing? Yeah, it seems it won't work unless we will move this away. Yeah, now it works. So it's easy, it should be easy fix. So, okay, sorry for the small confusion. So I will have the pirate, I will make the duplicate of the pirate. This is gonna be pirate collision. And normal pirate, we will just delete this reduction and we just keep everything as it was. In the pirate collision, I do the reverse, so I will delete this other object. Let me just see if it works. Okay, so it seems now the geometry working well. Yeah, I'm sorry for this small hiccup. Question is if the polar reduction actually, you might still need to calculate on every frame the polar reduction and the collision, so we might not speed it up unless we would bake it. So we might not be able to speed this process that much as I was hoping. So I mean, depends on the geometry, how heavy it's gonna be for you to calculate it. We might either just create this and create the bake Alembic, and then on Alembic we would use the collision deformer and cloth deformer. But when I see how long it's actually reloading him on every frame, I don't think we're getting any speed here now, which is unlucky. So I will just bring this and I will bring it to original pirate as we had before. And let's just don't do it for now this way. I'll just delete this. Okay. But in theory, it would work. So now I'll go back to cloth and then I will empty the cache, or not on the ship. Yeah, it's actually on the ship. Empty the cache and we'll calculate the cache. Okay. It actually works faster than when I was applying in reduced version. So, okay. Sometimes we're trying to optimize the things and it's actually better to don't optimize them. So this is one of the cases. What else we are saying? Yes, the lights. I'm thinking what kind of lights. It could be kind of nothing crazy, you know, when those kind of like police cars that have this kind of spinning light on two sides. I think I can make some simple geometry object, kind of funky head. We fix the spinning one.